In this episode, we're talking to Jason House. Now, I am so stoked for this episode. Y'all are going to absolutely love it. Jason is the founder of Iridium Sports Agency. To give you a little idea, Iridium is one of the largest sports agencies in the world of MMA. So they manage Bellator as well as UFC fighters. In fact, in the UFC, they manage nearly 20% of the UFC roster. This is almost 100 fighters that they have in the UFC. Jason built this business from the ground up. In fact, in the episode, we're going to talk about his very first signed client, where he walked away with a whopping $50. And then we're going to talk and compare that to everything leading along the way to where he is today. His journey is absolutely incredible, and there are so many wonderful pieces of perspective and knowledge that you're going to gain from listening to this episode. Let's go ahead and dive in. This is the TSS Podcast. It's a place for authentic conversations to uncover the stupid, simple truths that help us succeed in business, create better relationships, and lead more fulfilling lives. Welcome to Think Stupid Simple. Jason, welcome to the studio, man.
Thanks for having me.
So this is kind of funny, and I was mentioning this to you just a minute ago that, well, Jiva, my jiu-jitsu instructor, who also is yours, right?
Yep.
Okay, so he was like, you got to get Jason onto the podcast. And I was like, okay. And I looked up a little bit of who you were, and I was like, cool, like this would make a great conversation. And then today I was like going in depth, and I'm like, I'm going to go and do my cyber stalking here. And I think I realized, like, I'm a huge fan of MMA and UFC. I watch every single one of them, but you have like 20% of the roster. Like, it's a ridiculous number of fighters. How many are you guys representing right now?
I think in total we probably have a couple hundred fighters on the roster, and then in the UFC I believe we're like at 92, 93, somewhere in that ballpark.
That's gnarly, dude. Yeah, so I was very grateful that you came in. Thank you for coming in.
Oh, no. It's a pleasure to be here.
And we like to set the mood here. We like to go with a little bit of a romantic atmosphere, Jason. I hope this doesn't make you uncomfortable.
Not at all.
It should make you a little bit uncomfortable. That's our creative candle that we light at the beginning of every episode. So, dude, I thought this would be fun to kind of bring you in and talk about what it's been like in this journey of creating Iridium. In fact, Anthony, can you throw Iridium Sports Agency up onto the display? And since we're talking rosters, I was flipping through the different weight divisions. You guys have 5 flyweights in the top 15 right now.
Yeah.
I was like, that kind of blows me away.
Yeah.
And a lot of the names, like I recognized several of them like instantly, like Alex Perez. You guys also represent Cheeto,
Yep.
Korean Zombie,
Yep.
Brandon Royval. It's where did this all like begin? Like why MMA?
I was in law school, and let's backtrack one second. So I played college baseball for 4 years. That came to an end. And I was kind of looking for something to keep that kind of camaraderie that you have with the team. So I was in law school, going through the motions a little bit, and then I found Team Oyama, and I was like, man, I should start doing jiu-jitsu because that's kind of like wrestling. I grew up wrestling, and I just want to kind of get away from all the schooling and reading and kind of get outside for a bit. And so I started training with Jiva.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I started training with Jiva, and we hit it off right away. Me and Jiva have always, he's like a dad to me. So we've always been super.
He's incredible.
Yeah, he's the man. So we've been, asking him questions, asking about his fight career. At the time, Schwarzenegger was the governor. I think he passed a bill that kind of cut the workforce back, like 10% or so. And so I was supposed to get hired right out of law school to be a DA.
Oh, crazy.
Yes. And then they called me and said, hey, we couldn't hire you till like the following May.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, shoot. So I kind of needed to find a plan B, and which would become a plan A. And Ken Pavia came and spoke to my school. He owned a sports agency that represented MMA fighters. And I must have blown up his phone every day for a week, trying to get a hold of him, trying to start getting a foot into the industry.
Yeah.
And kind of started from there, really, really grew from there. I was really following him, kind of his tail, learning and growing. And when I finished law school, I decided that I kind of wanted to go on my own. So I took the law school exam, or the bar exam, excuse me, and passed. And then I kind of told my dad, like, look, I want to do this. I don't want to try and get a law firm job. And he's like, you know what, son, and give it 2 years. And if it doesn't work in 2 years, that law firm job will always be there for you. So why don't you try this, move back home, get a job at Outback Steakhouse, work nights, build the company during the day, and let's do this together. And I was like, man, really, Dad, you're cool with this? And he's like, yeah, if this is really what you love, let's run it. And so we did. And, obviously I'm blessed to have like Colin Oyama and Jiva Santana, working with me at a young age. They really kind of helped me understand the industry really well.
For sure.
I got to manage Jiva and Shane De Rosario and Ian McCall and all these, fighters out of Oyama's gym. It really definitely helped legitimize me quickly.
Yeah.
So
that's wicked, dude. I mean, we're looking at this kind of 12 years. Is it 12 years down the road now? So there's a lot here to unpack that I want to dive into. But in 12 years, the sport itself has changed so dramatically. I mean, you remember the days of like Tank Abbott, right? Watching old school UFC where like guys were punching each other in the balls and you're like, is that allowed? Like, like what is this? And then I kind of didn't touch UFC again so I was into it way, way back in the early days. And then there was probably like 15 years where I didn't watch. And then coming back to it, I was like, holy cow, this is completely different now. And it was probably the last 4 or 5 years that I really started getting into it. It took off when I started doing jiu-jitsu. I was like, dude, this is incredible.
Yeah.
And then it took on a very different interest. But 12 years ago when you got into the sport, there wasn't the kind of finance and money backing it that there is today. Like it was not mainstream back then.
No, not at all. It was still on Spike TV. That was before the Fox Sports deal had hit.
Yeah.
So I think they were only probably doing around 12, 16 shows a year.
Wow.
It wasn't like, now where they do one every weekend. And so I remember like a lot of my colleagues in law school going like, Jason, can you make a living on this? And I'm like, I'm not really sure, but I really love it. And I feel like I'm really helping others. And this is what I was kind of got into law school for. Getting to law school was kind of a real wake-up call for me because I thought my family had raised 25 foster children growing up. So I really got into law thinking
25?
Yes.
Don't gloss over that.
Yes.
Your family raised 25 foster children.
Yes.
Were you one of them or were you?
No. So my parents divorced when I was 2.
Okay.
I grew up with my dad.
Okay.
Around 6, my dad meets my best friend's mom through us hanging out and always want to have play dates.
Okay.
And she's also divorced at the time. They meet. They start dating. So basically my best friend becomes my stepbrother. How wild is this?
Crazy.
Right?
Your best friend becomes this is like old school Bumble right here. This is the pre-Tinder, pre-Bumble.
I always joke with them. I hooked you guys up, So they get married. They come home one day from church and go, hey, we have all these open rooms in the house. We feel like we should start putting, foster children here and giving them an opportunity to live and be part of our family.
Yeah.
Me and Joy, my brother at that, my best friend, we're like, oh, cool, more people to play with.
That's the coolest deal, by the way. Like, what a great deal! To actually become brothers with your best friend.
We were like bunk beds. This is awesome, So they started having foster children, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. Like it was the most rewarding and most fulfilling thing I've ever done. And so getting into law, I kind of wanted to be a voice for those children, be a voice for people.
Yeah.
And then I started working at a couple of law firms. You realize it's not quite like that. The DA's office was kind of giving me that kind of feeling that I was looking for, but then that was postponed. So that kind of led me, to go to MMA.
Well, what was it like having 25 foster kids coming in and out of the home? Like, how long did they typically stay on average? Like.
And it was crazy, because start off with one, and his name was Cajun, and he came in, and it was, hearing his story and hearing some of the adversity that he had dealt with at such a young age was, he's so tough, and I admired him so much for what he'd gone through.
Yeah. And
then we got 2 more brothers, and then it just started growing to the point that I think we'd have 8 people in the family at all times. So there'd be bunk beds in every room, and majority of them would stay with us the whole time, graduate high school, either go to college or armed forces and live a very, successful life. Obviously, sometimes there's children that as they're getting older, you realize that we don't have the capabilities to provide the help that they need, right? Maybe they need a little more
psychological help or
exactly. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. Where, when they're young, you don't really know what they've been through or the effects of what they've been through.
Yeah.
And so, it gets to a certain point, and you still keep in contact with them. It's like, hey, you have to leave, but it's just one situation where it's like, hey, I think it's best that you go somewhere where you can really get the help and attention that you need to to succeed.
By and large, though, most of the experiences were positive, and people coming in and out.
Yes, yeah.
25 though, did you? I'm just curious. So I'm sort of a student of psychology.
Yeah.
I'm curious from the standpoint of you and your brother's relationship, as well as your relationship with your parents. Did that change? Were there any like stress points, like in terms of, was it difficult sharing the attention?
Definitely, there was a point where you kind of realizing like, baseball was like my life growing up. Like I would have done anything for any time at baseball. So you realize like, hey, like my dad isn't able to, take me to the batting cages as much.
Yeah.
But then, they really instilled in me at a young age that life's really about serving and giving. If you have the opportunity to help others, you should. And so they really made sure that was the focal point and center point of our family. And then when they did that, it kind of centered my vision to what life is about, as opposed to just saying, well, I want this and I want that. And don't get me wrong, I played on every best travel team. My parents went to every game. They were amazing. But you're definitely realizing that what really brings you fulfillment is serving and giving to others. And so they brought that to the center of attention. And let me tell you, like when you think you have problems and then you see a kid come back, I'm not even joking. One kid came with a potato sack and 2 Hot Wheels and a bag of Fritos.
That's
and
crazy.
the clothes on his back. And I remember thinking like, man, what was I even complaining about today? Because
puts things into perspective.
Yeah, because I only had this Lunchable and I wanted that Lunchable at lunch. You know what I mean? Like, what was I really, and to see them thrive, like in the psychological aspect, like the first 2 weeks, I always felt the majority of them would really try to push you away. You're not my mom and dad. You're not my family. I don't love you. But if you stayed on them with love and care, they would blossom. Like in a month in, and they realized that you weren't going anywhere, that you weren't going to leave them, that you weren't going to give up on them. And then they're playing sports or extracurricular activities, and their grades are just rising. It was one of the most fulfilling things to see. Like, wow, if you just give someone a chance in life, they're gonna blossom. They're gonna take advantage of it.
Yeah, and to have done it, you said 25 foster kids.
Mm-hmm.
To have done it 25 times, I'd imagine you'd see the cycle repeat itself. I mean, throughout each one of them.
Like the first time it happens when a kid's like, screaming and yelling at you, you're not my brother, screw you. And you're like, like, man, and then by the second or third time, you're like, okay.
We've been here, done this.
Yes, in 2 weeks, we're going to be best friends. In 2 weeks, we're going to be outside playing catch. It's going to be great. Don't worry about it.
That's amazing. Are you still in touch with all of them? Or?
Yeah, a lot of them, yeah. We still talk quite a bit, through Facebook Messenger or Instagram. And, it's great to see them have their families and to be happy and, to know that you played a small part in their life. It's pretty incredible.
So have you, I'm sure you've thought of this, but your parents instilled in you this kind of set of core values that has made you want to look after others.
Yeah.
You've started a business looking after others.
Yeah.
Does that do you feel like that? I mean, it looks directly like that your youth kind of put you in, trained you for this.
Yeah. I always give my parents the credit. Like they probably didn't know what they were doing. I mean, they were doing the right thing, right? They knew what they were doing in the sense of this is the important things we need to teach our children. But I think they have no idea that this would grow into this, right? Like my dad started the company with me. I was serving tables at night as an attorney.
Yeah.
I was going out back, doing my thing. My dad's helped me build his business. It was like a father-son. We're just having fun together, like made this logo together. He woke me up in the middle of the night. He's like, we should call it Ridium. I'm like, yeah, Dad, that sounds great. Let's do it, and that's what we ran with, and so it's cool that they get to see that this led to this, on a much bigger scale, like, pursuing what they thought was right helped me to pursue what I think is right. And it's, helping others.
Yeah. Is your father your partner then? Or
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So going back, I wonder, from I myself went through a divorce, and then finding an actual, life partner. It was crazy to me to see the amount of energy that was used previously in terms of like all of my energy. It was either maintaining the relationship and trying to figure out what's going wrong and trying to kind of address that, or it was work. And I had 2 kids at the time. I was there for all the events, all the activities, everything. I was there on a daily basis, but I have no memory of it. It's the weirdest thing to me because I was present, but I was not present. And all my energy was going into just, how do I make this thing work type thing. When I got to a place where I was healthy, I was doing 3-4 times the amount of like the energy and everything that I could do was amplified by 3-4 times. Your parents, that is one of the most transparent examples I've ever seen to come from, because I would imagine like in that previous relationship, it was kind of focused on the kids and the relationship and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
then going into this new healthy one, your parents raised 25 foster kids along with you guys.
Yeah.
That is like the most visible sign of how much energy someone might have in a healthy place versus an unhealthy place.
It's funny you say that, because now that I'm an adult,
Yeah.
and I do this a lot to myself. I say, okay, well, my dad was 36, and I try to put like myself in his shoes, and my mom, you know, and I think like, wow, you know, like there's one year in 1996, they went to 120 Little League games in 1 year.
That's wild, dude. How do you even have enough time to do 120?
They didn't even miss one. Like it would literally, like sometimes it'd be on the same, like, you know, back-to-back fields, and sometimes it'd be the next game, and we just stay at the park all day. Like they really like gave their life to us. And I mean, my dad was there for everything. He never missed a single thing. My parents never missed anything. My brothers didn't miss anything. We were all of each other's stuff, supporting each other. Like that at bat when the count was 0-2, you should have been, you know, like we're always helping each other, always. And you start thinking like, man, like I thought it was normal.
No, your like, dad just set the bar. He set a new bar that like, okay, myself and all of our listeners are going to be like, okay, 120 games.
And so then it's even more wild. So we started having foster children in 1992. At that point, he started his own company installing the Coke machines in all the McDonald's. So he was doing that. 1998 hits. I'm in 8th grade. He goes, you know what, son? I can't tell you to chase your dream if I don't chase mine. So he quits and becomes a cop at 37 years old.
Wow.
And goes through the whole academy while going to my games, while going to all my brother's games and performances or whatever the heck we're doing. He runs through the academy at 37, finishes like top 5 in his class, and becomes a cop. And then he's like, and then he wanted to tell the foster children and me, like, hey, like, look, like, I cannot sit here and tell you to do your things if I didn't do it myself. This was always something I wanted to do since I was 18. I got into the family business of Coke machines and installments and stuff, and I need to show you guys that this is the route to take. I remember just being mind blown, right? Because we had a very comfortable living. Grew up in Diamond Bar. I mean, I mean, always had food on the table. It was a nice life. We were going on vacations together. It was awesome. And he did all that just to kind of like prove a point.
That's amazing. I mean, that's a very different perspective from, you know, my father came from traditional kind of immigrant upbringing. He was Iranian, or he is Iranian. I'm Iranian. But we immigrated when I was young. And from his standpoint, there was really only one way to become successful, and that was to complete your schooling and then to go work at a company and then to, you know, retire at that company. So when I quit my job, I quit Ernst & Young very similarly to kind of like your path in terms of, I mean, accounting is here and legal law is here, but it's still that
that 9-to-5 grind.
But I got my CPA, and then I was like, I'm done. Like I got my CPA. This is the thing that I can fall back on. I'm moving on. And when that transition happened, he felt like I was going down a path that would lead to failure because he never experienced that himself. So his words were like, you know, you do this, you're basically throwing away all your education, everything that I've ever done for you. And my thought was like, I think I'm actually honoring everything you've done for me by doing this. And now he sees it the same way. But it's interesting how your father's perspective, like he literally led by example each one of these steps along the way. And when you started Iridium, he was right there like that. You just graduated. You went to Whittier, right?
Yeah, went to Whittier Law School. So I graduated in May.
Took the bar.
Took the bar. Huge. 2 months later, passed. Yeah. You know what? Do you know what's crazy in all this? So I booked my first fight as an agent at my foster brother's Little League game.
What?
One of the parents worked for King of the Cage.
No way.
And I told him, I was like, hey, I'm trying to go on my own. I'm trying to be an agent. And he goes, really? He goes, I work for King of the Cage. And I was like, man, yeah. I've been working at the sports agency. I don't know if our ethos align. I'm going to kind of go on my own. And he was like, okay. He's like, well, what weights do you have? I was like, well, I got one client. He's like, you do? And he's like, yeah. I was like, I got one client. He's a heavyweight. He's 3-1. He's like, okay, I'll put him on this card in Colorado.
That was Lyron, right? Your first?
Laron, yeah.
Oh, Laron. Okay, yeah.
And I was like, cool. And I was like, well, how does this work? He's like, well, I'll give him like $400 to show, $200 to win, and you got to drive him to Colorado. I was like, sold. Like,
and you're, I mean, an agent typically makes a cut, right? Like 10%, 15%.
Yeah, I'm not making anything.
So it was like $50. You're like, I'll get my $50.
Yeah, didn't even cover the gas, And so I graduated law school the next weekend, and then the following weekend I drove to Colorado while studying for the bar, did the whole fight, week with him, and then came back home and continued my studies.
That's crazy. Now, Laron, he had a good record.
Yeah.
Did he get into UFC? I feel so.
He got a call in the Strike Force once, but
Okay.
because of the age limit, like he had to do extra exams, and so then he ended up at Bellator. So he fought for Bellator, and had a real good career, real good record. And it's funny because I met him. He played with my college strength coach was his teammate in college. So all this whole Laverne connection got me my first client.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, Coach Durant is like, hey, I think I got a client for you. I was like, great, I need one. Like, let's go, So it worked great. And I remember calling my dad. The fight was at like a high school gymnasium. I was calling my dad from like the workout room there. I was like, Dad, this is the greatest feeling on earth. I want to do this the rest of my life. But I was like, great, we just got to find a way for you to make money at it.
I know. I mean, you have to have a very long-term perspective when you're looking at that, because I feel like that's a stumbling block for so many entrepreneurs in general, is they set a number before they've ever developed themselves. Like, oh, if I'm going to do that thing, my worth is $500 a day or $1,000 a day. And it's like, man, your worth is whatever someone's willing to pay you at the time.
That's so true, man. That's so true.
And you got $50 at the time to
That was my worth. That was my worth for a week's of work at that point, So, what's so funny about that? I was so excited he won. I left the building without collecting his check. The promoter came back to the after party, goes, dude, you didn't even get your check. I was like, man, I was so excited. I thought I won the World Series. I was so pumped, He was like, here's the money. I was like, oh, thank you. Little rookie mistake there.
That's fantastic, though. Yeah. So Laurent is your first. Now, what was it about fighting that kind of pulled you into that? Was that something you were always interested in, or?
Man, the first time I really got into fighting was, I think it was December 29th of 2006 when Chuck and Tito fought the second time.
Okay.
I was kind of going through like a little, college breakup.
Yeah.
And my friend's like, come over and watch the fights. I'm like, man, I'm not really into fights. Like, well, just come watch it. I remember watching this going like, what is this?
Dude, they were fun to watch, man.
Right? And, and all this hype and, it was just love at first sight. I was hooked. I started training and I thought MMA is awesome because you get what you earn in MMA.
Yeah.
No one can take it from you. You get what you earn. That's the beauty of martial arts. You go in there and if you earn it, it's yours. No politics, no issues, just go in there, good old fashioned hard work and performance. Like
it's one of the most transparent ways you can make money. Yeah. Like you either win, you lose, and you're ranked and you have your audience and everything is based on those numbers.
It's very black and white, and I love that about it. I love that about it. If you keep winning, you'll get yours. You'll get your due, and I love that.
Well, that's kind of wild. And right now, you started practicing jiu-jitsu back then, or when did you start?
So I started training jiu-jitsu my second year of law school in 2008.
Okay.
And it's funny, I wasn't really vibing. There was a different instructor at the time. I was about to quit, and then Jiva taught his first, I think it was like a 6 a.m. morning class. Yeah. And I was mesmerized.
He's an incredible instructor.
He was so fluid. Like he was playing Bobby Fischer chess, and I was over here like playing checkers. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was just so amazing. And we hit it off right away. And he's someone that I don't think there's any of this without him. He really pushed me to do this. He really has always been a guiding light in this whole thing.
Yeah, there was a moment where I thought to myself, I've been doing a lot of education in the creative and business space for quite a while, but there was a specific moment where I was like, I need to learn from this guy. And it was when, so I'm maybe a COVID hit when I was going to get my first stripe. So I might be a first stripe white belt. I'm right at the beginning of this whole journey, but I asked the dumbest questions in the world. Like, and I do this in everything that I do, because I have to know why I'm doing something. And if I don't get it, I just don't get it. So translating this to like MMA and jiu-jitsu, Jiva would be teaching and he would go, okay, so you want to get into mount position. And I'd be like, Professor, why do we want to be in mount position? What is that for? And he's like, well, you want to be on top of the person that you're fighting. And I'm like, what for? So, but the reason why like I really loved the way that he taught was I learned later on just how accomplished he was. Like it probably took a couple months for me to go and like figure out who Jiva was. And then I was like, how did he not just like bitch slap me across my face when I was asking all of these different questions? Not only that, but he is the most patient man in the world. Yeah. And I'm sitting here going, he's taught people from the ground up, and he teaches professionals, and he can still respond with love and patience to a person that's just like asking these kind of questions. I was like, I need to learn from this. Not just jiu-jitsu. I need to learn life lessons from Jiva.
Exactly. Like, I feel like I've learned a lot about on the mat situations, but I think I've learned more about off the mat life with Jiva.
So are you a black belt now?
So I'm a 2-stripe brown belt. Almost.
2-stripe brown belt.
But yeah, I've been coming back, at least once a month, twice a month to see Jiva.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we started this together, and we're going to continue this together. I told him that. I said, no matter where I'm at, you're my guy. Cause, And I remember being so young then, and he was so patient on all my questions. Who books your fights?
Yeah.
How much do you make? I always regret asking him that. Like, that's none of my damn business, Like, oh, and how often, like, what shows are you talking to? I'm like, why aren't you in the UFC? Like, the young law school student, who looks at your contracts? Can I look at your contracts?
Just going super
So we're very
deep.
similar, because I'm over here doing the same thing. When you're saying I'm laughing, I'm like, God, he probably deals with this with everybody.
Yeah. Like, and I'm one of those that I love knowing the nuts and bolts of everything. So I ask the same kind of questions. But yeah, he is incredibly patient. I always feel like the generation that came, like Jiva's age.
Yeah.
I always feel like they came into the sport, they came into everything 10 years, 20 years too early. Like it feels like the sport was built off of their backs.
Yeah.
But
Agreed.
most of them didn't get any credit, recognition,
Agreed.
financial reward for it. It's kind of a crazy thing, but do you see that shifting or changing in any way?
I do. It's funny you say this. I don't know if you ever read the book Outliers.
Yes. I love that book.
Okay. So I really go down a rabbit hole sometimes, because had I graduated law school 5 years later, I'm not in the mix.
Yeah.
5 years earlier, I don't make a living.
The timing was really good for
like,
you.
Honestly, like, if you look back on it, and however you want to look at it, man, some things were on my side, and I'm very blessed and grateful for that, because there was a point in 2011 where I was about to hang it up. I was frustrated. I'm working tables at Outback.
Yeah.
I see my friends with nice cars, nice condos. They're already second, third year in their law firms, and I'm over here living with mom and dad, and then finally the Fox deal hits. Then I get my first guy in the UFC. He does very well, carries a torch for me, and it takes off. But
that's crazy.
But you have to think, like, man, I got in at the right time, right?
Yeah.
If Jiva was now, can you imagine?
If Jiva came
was
along
winning
now,
all those jiu-jitsu tournaments and winning all these medals that he won, now in a social media era where it gets all the,
he would be a top 10 fighter right now if he were at his prime right now.
Yes.
At his weight class, he would be incredible. Like,
Yes.
I've watched his matches, and he could strike too. Like, he had everything.
He did.
And it kind of blew me away. It made me a little bit sad, to be honest, to see it. Granted, Jiva's done very well for himself in jiu-jitsu, and he's...
But he definitely paved the way, right? He definitely opened the doors for young men like me at that time, right?
For sure.
And I had no idea. Oh, you're entering the right time. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're on Spike. There's a few shows. How many UFC fighters were there back then? 100, 120? I don't know. Not much,
that's
right?
hard to know, because when you started this, Laron was... You got $50 for Laron. And that was, what, 2007, 2008?
That's 2009.
2009. So you're 2 years into this, looking at your friends in law school and still trying to figure out how to make ends meet type thing.
Yep. I'll never forget it. It was right before Valentine's Day, 2011. And I think my overhead that month was $1,200, and I couldn't come up with it. And I had to ask my dad to borrow money, and it broke me. I was like, man, I'm asking my dad for money. This is going to kill me. And I was like, man, I'm done, Dad. I'm out. I'm going to get a job. And my dad's like, nah, dude, don't worry about it. Like, I can spot shoot. It's no big deal. I'm like, Dad, this is embarrassing. I'm 7 years of school.
Yeah.
I was a very good student. I had straight A's all through high school. I'm a very good student. Like, this is a joke. I passed the bar on the first try. Like, I could be doing so much more. Kind of like, like, I'm thinking your father's education is like, this should have brought me more.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I don't know. My dad's like, hang in there. Literally, this is Sunday. Monday morning, and I've been emailing Sean Shelby every Monday since August of 2010 about Ruben Duran. Not one response. Not a got it. Not a K.
That's crazy.
Not, hey, I see you. Nothing.
Yeah.
Just ignored. Which is fine. I know. He's one of my best friends. I love him. But at the time, I was like, he doesn't know me. I'm a young kid.
Yeah.
He responds, and he goes, what is Ruben Duran doing? like a dork, I'm like, waiting for your call, sir. You know, I'm so excited. I'm like, I'm waiting for your call.
Negotiation comes down the road. This is a skill
And so I called Ruben. I was like, dude, Sean just asked me, what are you up to? And he goes, I'm waiting to fight. I said, that's what I told him. He hits me up like 3 hours later, like the longest 3 hours of my life. Okay, he can fight, March 3rd in Kentucky against Takei Mizugaki. I'm like, done, sold, take it. Like, greatest moment of my life.
I mean, that is there's some commonalities between entrepreneurs that reach your level of success, and the one thing that I've heard repeatedly is the breaking point, where there's this moment where almost everybody walks away, is about to walk away at the like right before success is about to, like,
right before it.
And I wonder, like, how many people actually walk away just before that moment of actually hitting it.
There has to be a lot, because I'm not embarrassed to tell you this. Like, I was done. Like, I didn't have enough money to take my girlfriend at the time to Valentine's dinner. Like, the frustration was there.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm over this. I cannot, like, this is so frustrating. Like, I'm serving tables at night. People are talking down to me. I have more education than some of these people, and they're being so disrespectful to me. Like, not that matters, but when you're young, you think like that a little bit, right? You're like, this is
plays
like,
a part, man.
Yeah, you're like, this is so frustrating. Like, I'm tired of this. Like, sir, I didn't cook the steak. I'll gladly get it fixed for you. I'm so sorry. Like, what am I doing? That's why I'm always nice to service now.
You have a law degree when you're doing this, and you pass the bar.
And to further what you're saying, Ruben was a game changer for me. If he doesn't go out there and lay it down that night, like he did, Sean doesn't go, who else do you got? Well, I got Bobby Green. Well, I got Ian McCall. Well, I got Eddie Yoggin. I got Francisco Rivera, and that first generation that paved the road for me. So I always try and tell Ruben, like, bro, you changed my life. Like, I mean, yes, I got you the opportunity, but you went in there and you fought like there's one slot left on Noah's Ark, and you were trying to get it. Like,
that's the crazy cool thing about the agent to athlete relationship, is that it's this like symbiotic relationship where you're basically building each other up. But
no, for sure, 100%.
But that's so unique from many different standpoints. I'm curious though, when we go back to like your baseball career, right? I mean, in college, I saw that you guys won several conferences. So that was that probably your first significant transition of, I'm gonna let go of baseball to go to law school?
Yeah, it was hard to let go of baseball. It's a huge part of my life, and I was blessed to be a part of some very successful teams. And when you experience that type of success with a group, and it's not the result, but the process that leads to that result, that you enjoy, right? Showing up every day, working towards a common goal with men that are on the same page as you, working hard together, studying together. You miss those days. That's why I joined jiu-jitsu, because I was hoping I could find something similar to that
camaraderie.
Because they lifted me up, and I think I lifted them up too as well, right? Like, you're around good people, you're lifting each other up, and a lot of the lessons that Coach Winterburn and Coach Durant taught me on the field really helped apply to managing fighters and to creating a good culture at our agency. Because it's crazy, because I can remember some of these talks with Coach Byrne out in the field. I'm 19 years old. I can remember like it was yesterday, some of the things he was saying. And at the time, I'm like, okay, I wasn't like being a smart aleck. Like, I thought, okay, he's right what he's saying. But you're like, man, 10 years from now, you're going to look back on this. And I'm like, man, he's right. I'm looking back at it.
10 years from now, we have.
I'm looking back at it, So life works in funny ways.
When did you know that you were kind of over baseball? Like, when did you know that it was done? Because I imagine you're probably trying to go professional at that time. Or was that not really in the cards?
I don't know if that was really in the cards. I had a good college career, had a lot of fun, but I think I knew that, my time was up.
Okay.
And, I was ready to go to law school. Actually, I wanted to be a cop.
Really? Like Dad?
I wanted to be a cop. My dad wanted me to go to law school so bad. And I was like, Dad, I don't want to do any more school. And so I took a public speaking course. Laverne had like one of the top 3 or 4 debate teams in the world. Not many people know this. Little Laverne had like this amazing debate team.
Yeah.
And the guy kept saying, man, you got to come to debate. I'm like, bro, I play baseball. Don't talk to me. Okay. I was really that young and naive. Like, I play baseball. I'm not trying to be no debate team. He's like, dude, if I met you after your game on Fridays at 7 p.m., you came to the classroom, we'll have some beers here, and we'll just debate a few topics, and you'll be back at the party by 10 p.m. And I'm like, okay, sold.
Interesting.
And he got me hooked on debating.
What do you do at debate team? Like, I mean, what?
There's like a topic, and it's like a case. You separate sides, and you all present your cases, and the judges vote on it.
Okay, that kind of sounds fun.
It was fun. So by the time I was like, debate, but he's like, you're really good at this. You could be really good at this. I'm like, man, I'm just here to play baseball.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. And he's like, you got to do this. And I got into it, and he's like, man, you know what this means? Like, you'd be a really good attorney. And there's my dad in the background. I told you, son, this is your calling. And so they actually, like, it's crazy how there's so many things I think have led me. Like, it's crazy when I look back on it. And I try to call that professor and let him know, like, hey, man, you changed my life. You may not remember this, but those Friday nights, you got me to frickin' go to law school.
Yeah, it's crazy to think of all those little experiences, those tiny things that kind of shape you across the way. And I'm sure, again, you graduated from Whittier, so you have your law degree, you have passed the bar exam, so that actually kind of prepares you to be ready to look at these contracts and actually understand what's going on.
Yep.
So when did you feel like you started to actually learn the negotiation side of this art of running an agency, of actually dealing with contracts?
I would say like 2 or 3 years in, I felt like maybe, like, I think probably around 2012, because that's about a year of dealing with the UFC. Did you start realizing how the system works, the do's and don'ts, what can be done, what cannot be done, you know?
What are some of those things?
Just, you know, certain things to focus on, whether it be matchups or pay, or how pay affects the matchup and vice versa. You know, when is a good time to negotiate a contract, when is not. You know, certain key things to focus on. Sometimes when you're so focused on the macro, you lose sight of the micro, right? Like, what's most important? Getting the right matchup. That's the most important. If the fighter wins, that's the end all be all. At the end of the day, that's what we really need to focus on, is that their career is progressing. You know, if you, I always truly believe never sacrifice what you want in the long term for a short-term win. So sometimes in negotiations, you'll take the immediate money or the immediate situation, but that doesn't help further the long-term goal. Yeah. And I think if you help your clients focus on the long-term goal, and every decision you make is for the long-term goal, you're going to reach that goal. But if you keep sacrificing it, you're not going to get there. You have to stay on path for what is that long-term goal? What is that for us? And if you establish that with your clients, when you start working with them, you have that you have that destination that you're going to obtain.
That's a very interesting thing, because I would imagine that
it's like reverse engineering, I guess, what I was trying to say.
Yeah, you're looking at the goal of where they want to go, and then you're trying to make good decisions to get there. I would love to hear what this is like from your perspective as to what a good agent should do, because you have so many moments where, like, fighters have a trajectory, right? They're on their way somewhere. The going into a fight and losing can be so detrimental to confidence and everything about it, that you kind of want to, I would imagine, like any sports team, you want each challenge to be progressively a little bit more difficult, but you don't want to make these huge jumps because it can really curb their career. So what is a good agent looking out for in terms of managing a fighter?
When you're managing a fighter, it comes down to a few things. On the business side, you need to educate them, not give them fish, but teach them how to fish with you, so that your conversations with them can be more educated and on the same level, and that they fully understand what's going on in their career. I think that's first and most important. You can't be like, hey, here's your matchup, this is what's good for you. You have to explain everything to them so that your dialogue is getting further and further along in the right direction. And then secondly, it's very important to have a good relationship with the coach, because they see them every day. So what I think might be a good matchup may not be a good matchup, because he sees them and says, hey, you know what, his knee's hurting, maybe a grappler's not the best fight right now. So really it's about communication with the team. You know, I really look at the coach, the fighter, and the manager really have to be on the same page and communicate tremendously well to best serve that athlete in his or her career. That's the best thing to do when you're trying to take those gradual steps. Yeah. And be in unison together, so that we're all on the same page and building them up. Because this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Yeah. You really got to take your time and really develop these athletes properly so that they can obtain long-term success. And then giving them the right fight so that they grow in the sport, and the growth leads to a long-term career. Because, you know, some fights, guys never recover from. Yeah. Some fights, if you they may not be the same after.
You see Max Holloway and Calvin Kattar. That was one of those where I felt like, how does Kattar come away? Like, I mean, this was, if you didn't see this fight, this was such a clinic that Max put on, to the point where it like looked like Max was in the Matrix.
To be honest, up until this point, I thought when Dominic Cruz beat TJ Dillashaw, that was probably one of the best things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I think that fight performance was one of the best athletic performances I've ever seen in my whole life.
It was insane.
Yeah,
it was insane.
It was.
And it was to do it to Cater, who's a murderer. I mean, that guy's insane.
He's a stud. He's an amazing athlete as well. And to what you're saying, I think we're going to really see how Cater responds to this is going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
I think he has the mental fortitude to do it. He's shown that a lot. But yeah, you're right. To come back from that is tough. And I say that as a compliment to Calvin, because I do believe he's going to come back and do it. So I'm not trying to put him down, but
very strong-willed.
But yes, you're absolutely right. Like, coming back from that is extremely difficult. I don't care what anyone says. To come back from that's going to be tough, and he's going to have to really dig deep. But he's done it. I mean, that guy's a winner through and through.
Yeah, for sure. But you do see in many instances where you have two options. You come through it and you get stronger, or you go through the other side, and it just some fighters are just never the same after a loss like that. So to manage that career, it makes complete sense, but you have to know the ins and outs of these fights and have those relationships with the coaches to be able to know exactly where their strengths and weaknesses are, so that a paycheck doesn't kind of outweigh the long-term effects of any particular matchup.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I can see how your background is so perfect for this, not only from the standpoint of, I mean, you are an athlete yourself, so you can actually put yourself in their shoes in terms of what they go through. Did you ever fight?
I fought once.
Did you?
Yeah, I won. It was fun.
Wait, you got to walk me through that. How was that?
It was a great experience, and I did it for exactly why you said it, because I wanted to
feel it.
Go through what they go through.
Yeah.
I wanted to sell tickets like they have to sell tickets on the regional scene. I wanted to cut weight while working like they have to cut weight while working, because most regional fighters still have jobs. I wanted to go through what they go through so I can understand them better. I think to fully understand, you can't really truly serve someone till you fully understand them. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So if I could show my athletes at the time, look, I care this much that I want to walk this path with you to see what you're going through, then I can better serve you in the long haul.
Yeah, that means the world, man.
Yeah, it does. And, you're right. I'm very blessed. Like, having foster children in your home, you're having all walks of life come into your house.
Yeah.
All different races, ethnicities, backgrounds. That helps you. That was perfect for me, right? I'm dealing with clients from all over the world, all different walks of life.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And to understand them and to have an open mindedness to understand them, like, that comes from a lot of the early upbringing. So it's crazy how life works. So, at the time you would have told me that this is going to benefit you. Like, well, okay, cool. Like, I'm 10 years old. I have no idea what's going on.
Well, and for most fighters have really difficult upbringings. I mean, it's a very common thread across the fighting community these are the kids that go into foster care. They are the kids that have dealt with things from a young age. So you're prepared from that standpoint psychologically.
One of my clients, Bobby Green, he told me that he spent 9 straight birthdays in different foster homes.
That's wild. I'm trying to wrap my head around that.
Think about that for a second. In different homes.
That's insane.
Yeah. He was in different homes and he was through foster care. He lived with friends and family members. Bobby has one of the most crazy upbringings that I've seen. And I don't even say crazy in a bad way. I mean, I say it in a good way because he's been through so much. And Bobby's got one of the biggest hearts I know. And his ability to love others, and after all he's been through, it's tremendous. And that's why I always, like, his birthday, like, I always hit him fast, like, on it. Like, I always want to spend time with him, because I couldn't imagine what that's like. And
well, there's the imagining 9 different homes aspect of it, which nobody can put themselves into that aspect. But then there's the what happened in those 9 different homes.
Yeah.
That add to that whole thing.
Yeah.
But that side of empathy you touched on is so incredibly critical. Like, if I'm a fighter and I know my agent, the CEO of the firm, stepped into a ring just to know what that's like, that to me says so much, from the standpoint, because this isn't like we tell, like, creatives, we tell photographers, hey, if you want to understand what it feels like to be a client, put yourself in front of your camera. So, like, go and actually be photographed, because a lot of artists don't actually participate from the perspective of their clients, so they can't put themselves in the client's shoes. It's a very weird thing. But what we're talking about is not getting your photo taken. It's stepping into a ring with another person who wants to kill you. So how did that fight go?
Good. I took him down and I won and beat him. I actually wish I could do something now because I'm very more well-rounded in my martial arts. Training all these years. That was like 2012. I'd only been training for a couple of years. I was barely a blue belt at the time.
Okay.
And I would love to see what would happen now. Obviously I'm a little older now, and now I'm traveling all the time, so I don't get to train like I was. But it was a great experience, and I'm thankful for it. And it's one of those things I'm glad I did it then, because I would hate to look back and say I never got at least one chance to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful. And it was great. Like Bobby was there helping me train, and Ruben was, and all the guys. And, I'm just lucky. Like Bobby Green's we've been together for 11 or 12 years now, and I love him. He's the best. And we've been through so much. Like I think to grow up with someone is one of the best things you can do.
Yeah.
Like when he signed with me, and God bless his heart, like
this was 12 years ago when he signed with you.
Yeah. I don't think I even had a UFC fighter at the time, and he trusted his career with me. And we've been on this rodeo together all over the world, traveling, fighting, highs, lows, ups, downs, and he's crushing it. He's killing life, and I'm so happy for him.
Well, so coming into this now, you have Iridium today. I think you had 6 employees, like team members.
Mm-hmm.
It looks, I'm sure, dramatically different than the early days. But when did you feel like you were making that transition? You got that deal, that early deal that you kind of like, okay, I can establish myself. When was it actually beginning to make money?
2014 was a good year. We put quite a few athletes into the UFC that year. I think I was really starting to make some headway in 2014. I don't believe, though, that we were making money till 2017.
I want people to hear that, because it's like you have a law degree, you were working at Outback, and you were willing to do this for essentially 8 to 10 years before it really paid off.
Yeah.
That's a commitment that I don't think a lot of people have. And I think they probably don't have because they set the wrong expectation for something.
Yeah.
They have this expectation of it's going to come fast. It's going to be a year, 2 years. So what was keeping you going through that time period? When you mentioned there was multiple times where you almost walked away, what was it that was kind of holding you there? Your father was one.
Yeah, Jeremy Lukow is my best friend, and he's my partner in this whole thing. He kind of kept me aligned a couple of times. Like there was one time I remember, it was 2012, and so we finally had a couple UFC fighters, right? Because 2011 was the first time, and I was in Vegas for like a MMA summit, and my dad was with the accountant doing our taxes, and he calls me and he goes like, "Hey, you owe like $6,000 in taxes." I'm like, "Dad, I only have $3,000. Like, I rearranged a hotel room that night. I was so freaking mad. I was like, I am done. I finally make a little bit of money, not to give it all back. Like, and I was like, I quit. I'm done. I'm gonna go be a cop. I'm over this. And Jeremy was just sitting there. He's like, bro, you ain't going anywhere. What are you doing? I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Bull Durham.
I have. Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's a part in there where Kevin Costner, right? Like he gets demoted to single A baseball, and he walks into the manager's office. He goes, F this effing game. I'm so done with this crap. I'm over this. I'm done. I'm quitting. He walks out, closes the door. It's like a see-through door, right? There's a window right there, and he's like talking to himself, and he walks back and he goes, "What time's batting practice tomorrow?" Like,
I do remember that.
That's kind of what that's how I could really just like how I was that day. I was saying it, but I was like, "You're not going anywhere. You're never leaving this game." But yeah, I don't think really 2017 was the first year that we were making money. Like that's 8 years. 8 years.
8 years is gnarly. Had the people around you been a little bit more pessimistic and said, yeah, it's probably time for you to move on, do you think you would have, or did you have enough love for this thing that you would have stuck with it?
I don't think I ever could leave. Your blessing is your curse, and my curse is I don't know when to quit.
Yeah.
That's.
Well, you have an intrinsic love of MMA and fighting too.
And the thing is too, you could never leave their relationships. Like even now, like if I got offered, I don't know, it'd be hard to leave the guys. You've been on this journey, like the Bobby Greens, the Rubens, all the guys you've been, the Cheeto Veras, the Alex Perez's, the Brandon Royvals, Brandon Marine, all these guys, right? It'd be hard to leave the journey that you're on with them. Like, it's so fulfilling and rewarding. It couldn't happen. I mean, I couldn't do it.
Yeah. Once again, that goes back to who you are. I mean, this takes me back to your childhood. It takes me back to your best friend turned brother.
Yeah.
And then all the kids that came through and prepping you to like make differences in people's lives. It's very interesting. You found a career, you've created a career that very much lines up with your values as a person.
Yeah.
So that's fascinating. What does today look like though? So managing now Iridium today, how does that compare to those early years? I mean, we know what the early years are.
It's funny you say this because I feel like one of my words for the year is perspective. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes I do lose perspective. I'll be honest with you. You could have 5 clients in a card and one loses and I'm up in fits about the one guy lost. I hurt for him. My heart breaks for him because I know how much he put into it, he or she. And then there's times I have to think like, man, remember when you didn't even have 5 clients, let alone 5 UFC clients?
You have 4 fighters this weekend.
Yes. And so sometimes you have to keep perspective. And right now, really what it's about is I look at this and I said, okay, we're doing good, but anyone can do good for a year or two. Now it's about seeing if we can create a legacy.
Yeah.
Now you want to be John Wooden, right? And win 10 national titles. You want to be Coach Krzyzewski from Duke basketball and do it right. You want to be Dan Gable. And when I say do it right, sir, I mean in every area of your life. Like you look at Coach Krzyzewski, he's never had a scandal in his personal life. He's married, beautiful daughters. How many lives has he impacted at Duke basketball? Hundreds of thousands, right? Changed those young men's lives. He's done it right. He's got a respectable name. He's done it the right way. No NCAA violations. No anything. That's what I want to do. Now it's time to run a decade to help keep uplifting my team at Iridium, and then also all the athletes as well.
Yeah.
And to develop them. And that's awesome, right? So we have like Jacob Parker, right? He's 25 years old. He went to my college. That's how I met him. He's handling our marketing. Like, to develop a young man now in this business, it's the next step, right, in your evolution. Now that you're building within now. Now you're not just building your clientele. You're building your team within. It's an amazing. Every time he does something or he's going through some life, I'm like, oh, I remember that. I was there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So do you feel like today, what does a typical day consist of? Are you still working with the athletes one-on-one, or has it shifted a little bit?
It's shifted in the aspect that I don't want to be a jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
So Jacob just does the marketing, right? Ed just does the PR. Jeremy handles all the regional events, right? Lance is another agent, handles a lot of the guys and does a lot of the legal work. So everyone has their own specific roles in the company, but it's the same thing, and Jiva taught me this years ago, right? So a typical day is I get up, I read my book, whatever book I'm reading for the month. Mm-hmm. I either train jiu-jitsu or work out. Then I put the emails out that I want to put out or the text and stuff. So basically, I'm doing everything proactively early in the morning. That way, the rest of the day I can be reactive when clients are calling, issues are happening, and I'm able to serve the guys. So the morning time is still very crucial to, improve myself physically, mentally, spiritually before 8 a.m. Get ahead of the game and then go. I feel like those morning hours are crucial. I just think it's a game changer for me to have that, because then no matter what happens in the day, it's like you made your bed, you got your workout in, you've done what you need to do for yourself. Now, if I fully take care of myself, now I can fully serve others. If you're not taking care of yourself, you're not going to be able to take care of anybody. Yeah. And I think that's been the key all these years. And really, it's a good communication with our team, pretty much daily team calls or team messaging to make sure we're all on the same page, and then constantly checking in with our athletes, constantly texting them and making sure they're okay. Communication is the lifeblood of this business.
Yeah. The athlete's mind, especially on a fighter side, again, you mentioned, I forget his name, but you mentioned the fighter that you had that has gone through so many ups and downs. The resilience that creates is incredible, but it also comes along with your demons. So you're dealing with a lot of, nearly 100 people that are not only incredibly resilient, but they also have their demons. Yeah. So how are you helping the fighters on a day-to-day basis to kind of manage and to, like you said, to learn how to fish, to learn how to improve?
So the key thing to communication is just having to fully understand what they're going through and what their current state of life is. I feel like sometimes if you don't communicate with your fighter, you don't know what's going on. And what happens is outside the cage dictates what happens inside the cage. When I was growing up, my dad could always tell me, son, I can tell you when you're going to have a good game. And I'd be like, Dad, you're full of it. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Now I can tell you every time our guy's going to perform or not perform. I can tell you. I could literally, the fight week energy, how everything's going, I can tell you what's going to lead into that performance. I could literally, like, I know when all the things are lining up, I'm like, oh, we got this. I can tell he's firing all cylinders. It's going to be a great night. And so you have to really have your hand on the pulse constantly with your athletes so you can see what's going on and kind of segue that energy if it's not the right way, or segue the mood of the room and get back on track, or contact them. Hey man, you seem a little frustrated. Hey Jay, sparring was really tough today. I'm just really down. I didn't perform well. I said, okay, cool. Well, talk to me. What's changed? Well, I cut out carbs in my diet, or I didn't get much sleep last night because of my newborn baby. It's like, well, man, that's a key reason. Like, oh, you're right. Sometimes I'm not saying I'm offering anything amazing, but sometimes when they're able to kind of use me as a soundboard and talk, oh, you're right. It's the sleep.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, you're right. I did cut out the carbs. Okay, no big deal. And then they're positive again, right? Now they're back on the right mind track. It's little things like that. Or, hey, you have stress. Oh, I got stress. My family, they want to sit together at the fight. Okay, well, let me handle that. Have your aunt and your mom call me. I'll get a group rate. We'll take care of this. Don't worry about this. You just focus on that man across the cage trying to put a hole in your head.
I know. And, that's the other side of this, is like we talked earlier about how, just different things in your life can be taking so much energy away from what you're trying to do.
Yes.
In most cases, we're not talking about careers where you're stepping into a octagon and with another person that wants to kill you. In most cases, we're talking about, oh, I had a not so great day at work.
Exactly. So it's like, hey, you know what? I'm a little frustrated. My QuickBooks or my taxes or my accounting. Okay, you know what? I know a good accountant. Do you mind? If you're going to give me your stuff, I'll take it over to him or her and we can sort. Sometimes it's just doing something. I forgot my sauna suit. Don't worry. One of my athletes this week, he called me. He was all frustrated. He's like, bro, I forgot everything. I was like, well, what's everything? He's like, everything. Cup, mouthpiece, boxing gloves, like the whole nine. I was like, oh shoot. Okay. You did forget everything. And so, I worked with the UFC because, they can't leave the hotel.
Yeah.
I had the dentist come there, take the impression in the parking lot, turn it around and make sure I had a custom mouthpiece. That's really important, to have a good mouthpiece, and got them all new gear within a couple hours. And it's stuff like that. It sounds silly, but if you're able to just take their mind, where their focus is everything.
Yeah.
It could be silly.
Well, I mean, for those that aren't familiar with fighting, a mouthpiece is the difference between breathing well versus not. Like a custom mouthpiece makes a huge difference.
Huge difference. And so that's why sometimes it's silly. Like, hey, Jay, I always have celery juice, but I'm quarantined. Don't worry, I'll make celery juice. Like whatever it is, it sounds silly. People think you're doing all these amazing contract negotiations or something, but being a manager sometimes is just really
taking care of people
in the slightest way that makes them feel comfortable.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. I mean, I've literally, we have like a pillow sponsor, Space Foam, and one time the guy wants a Space Foam pillow. He sleeps. Don't worry, I'll get you whatever it may be, whatever it takes.
There's an aspect to that role, to that job, where you are constantly, I'm sure, humbling yourself and just remaining humble to what it is that you're doing. You're a facilitator. You are an agent. You are a supporter of these athletes. I find that jiu-jitsu is a wonderful, everybody that I know that practices has that in common. You go there, you get your ass beat, especially for me, just nonstop. And the people that are drawn to the sport, that stick with it, are genuinely very humble, because you realize that there's levels to everything.
Yeah.
Do you find that there's other things beyond jiu-jitsu that help you to kind of like regulate and keep that perspective? You mentioned some of your morning practices.
Yeah. This year I've really tried to take 6 minutes a day. I have a timer to kind of just focus on my breathing, clear my head, gather my thoughts quietly. And it's really been helping, kind of midday, kind of stopping and just reassessing, kind of a reassessment period.
Just a 6 minute break.
Just 6 minute break, turn the little timer on, close my eyes, lay on the floor, and just 6 minutes, just kind of get everything okay.
Do you ever fall asleep when you're doing that?
It's very relaxing. My wife laughs. Like, I think I'm going to fall asleep. But it just allows me to kind of slow it down
Yeah.
and gather and focus on the process. Sometimes if you become too result oriented, you lose sight of the process. And the process is what got me here. The process is what's going to keep me here. And that's really the key,
So can you go into that morning ritual that you talked about? What specifically are you, because what you mentioned, I mean, you need to wake up 4 or 5 a.m., right?
Yeah. I'm usually up by 5 a.m.
Okay.
Maybe even before that, actually. So maybe like 4:30, actually.
Yeah.
And usually I train around 5 or 6 a.m. But like right now I'm reading The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'll read my book. I do like mobility like stretch and mobility workout for my body just to kind of get me loose and limber. Then I will do my workout, whether it be jiu-jitsu or just work out in the garage. So now I've read, I've done my mental stuff, I've done my physical stuff, and then after that I'll usually pray and just kind of sit there. And again, like that's kind of like the first one, I should say, before the 6 minutes. That's the first one I really kind of visualize what I'm hoping to accomplish today and gather all my stuff. And then from there, it's like celery juice and breakfast usually.
Yeah. All your self-care.
Yeah, all the self-care, and then I kind of just make a list of the things that I want to accomplish. I need to contact this fighter, check in, see how he's doing. I want to send these emails out, and I'll do it now. Like sometimes people laugh at me, like, "Bro, you text me like at 6:30 in the morning, or you email me." It's like, well, I want to make sure I put it out there that I'm thinking of you.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm thinking of you, I want to put it out there.
Yeah.
And that's really the routine. My wife usually makes very similar breakfasts for me every day, and then the day starts.
That's fantastic. I love morning routines.
Yeah, and what's funny you say this, because I just started trying to watch the sunrise every morning. I've been trying to do that just to kind of enjoy these things. Sometimes life's happening so fast. Like when you say these things like, "Hey, it's 12 years," I'm like, "Dude, 12 years? That's crazy." Like, where is this going? And I started doing this because I've been in all these wonderful countries around the world, beautiful countries, Abu Dhabi, Ireland, Australia, all these beautiful people, beautiful countries. The love they have for the sport and for us, it's amazing. And you're so caught up in the moment of the fight that sometimes you need to be like, dude, like, go walk around town, go find a good coffee shop, go see the sun. It's cool to kind of slow the process down and really be in the moment. That's really what I'm trying to, being present, I guess, right? Just being really, really present is key for me.
It's interesting too, because, anybody who becomes very successful at that one thing, whatever that might be, they have a tendency to become myopic in the way that they think. Like they have a tendency to think that the entire world is that one thing. So beyond, you have your reading, but jiu-jitsu is still in the world of MMA.
Jiu-jitsu is, yes.
So what else do you have outside of that kind of, do you have something that gives you perspective?
I really honestly think it's jiu-jitsu and martial arts, because I do that 4 or 5 times a week.
Yeah.
Like that really helps me. Like, man, coming down here for 3 days of Jiva is the most amazing. Like, we're going to talk about life. We're going to roll. I get to see Gabe. I get to see Mitch. I get to see all the boys that some of these guys I've been training with for 10, 12 years at 6 a.m.
That's so cool. Yeah.
So it does help start, that camaraderie, that group, and you're able to share. It's your social, yes.
Time too.
And it's awesome, that. And then just really, I'm lucky. My best friend, Jeremy, my dad, and my wife, Elisa, really help. Jeremy does a great job on fight week. Because he's very good at being in the moment, way better than me.
Yeah.
He's like, bro, we're in freaking, like when Alex Perez fighting for the world, it's like, bro, our guy's fighting for the world title.
I know, that's ridiculous.
Like, can you imagine that? Like, we booked every single one of Alex Perez's fights. There's not one fight Alex has ever done that we haven't had his back on.
Yeah.
Every single one. And, can you believe it? And it's so nice to have him there. I don't know if he even knows
to
this.
remind you.
I don't know if he even knows this, but he's so good at being present.
Yeah.
He's like, bro, can you imagine we're eating at this Brazilian steakhouse? We're about to pick up the tab for 30 people at this steakhouse. Like, there's a time you couldn't afford the steakhouse by yourself if you went by yourself.
There's a time that you worked at the steakhouse.
Yes, yeah. So sometimes like he does a very good job, and I think that really helps.
Oh, for sure.
And my wife, she's like, honey, remember when we first started dating? Like, couldn't afford any of this.
Yeah.
You couldn't even afford it. Because I was bringing her. I bring her to every fight week now.
Yeah.
When we were traveling before pre-COVID, but there was a time I wouldn't see her for 3 or 4 weeks at a time. I couldn't afford it. I was traveling.
That's crazy.
You know what I mean? And
you just have to stay wherever you're at. Because
I'm gonna be honest with you. It's embarrassing to tell you this, but you'd almost cut out a flight. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So instead of say you were in Dallas and then you're going to Florida. Well, instead of going home, I go straight to Florida.
You save a little bit of money on the flights.
No, that's the truth. That's why I say 2017 is probably the year I think I made it, because I could afford to go home and see my wife for 3 days and then go back to Florida.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But it makes complete sense.
It
but
does.
It's crazy to
I
look
can
back
tell you
on.
this because I know you understand, but it's embarrassing, but that's what it was happening. I mean, up until 2 or 3 years ago, I was sharing hotel rooms, sleeping on floors like this. You had to cut all the overhead to just make a profit. That's what I think most entrepreneurs don't realize. Like, you have to be frugal as heck. Like, my wife laughs. I have checkbooks. I have registers, and I write down every dollar the company spends. If one of the guys uses the card in the company, I have them text me the total amount, so I have to see it. So I know because when you write it down, you feel it. You feel it more. Like, okay,
I freaking love this.
That way you know where your money's. I mean, you're a CPA, so like.
I hate numbers, but yeah, I am a CPA.
I mean, I do my QuickBooks every morning.
That's crazy.
Actually, I forgot to tell you this. That is the honest truth. My wife laughs. That will actually be done before anything, because
you're still doing this now.
Yes.
That's wild to me.
Like there's 9 transactions this morning. I put them in, I balance it, and QuickBooks matches the Chase Bank, and I feel good. I'm like, okay, everything's lined up. Okay, now I can.
All right, fist bump, dude. You are a better finance
but
person.
My dad used to tell me, like, son, you have to know where your money's going. You have to know what you have in your account. You have to know where your costs are, and yeah, I don't want to go back to where I was, man. That was serving tables at Outback. Let me tell you,
it's true.
And God bless Brea, the Outback Steakhouse in Brea, California, because that owner put up with me, take Saturday off to go, because Saturdays are probably where they want you to work. And I had fights. Yeah. Fridays were weigh-ins.
Yeah.
He let me. I was like, dude, I'll work every shift. Just give me Friday, Saturday off to go to weigh-ins and go to the fights. I'll pick up every dog shift you want me to get. I don't care, man. Like, please just help me. Like, I'm trying to get out of here.
That's rad.
Yeah.
What's crazy? So I have, when we first started our businesses, I remember similarly, like I was budgeting $2 a meal. Like I have $2 to spend on a meal. So I'm going to be home cooking or eating off the value menu somewhere.
Yeah.
But over the years, what's been kind of fun to see is when I talk to people, when I hear stories, when I tell stories, you never talk about, our conversation today about what it is like to run Iridium today is a fraction of your journey. And what we always tend to focus on in every conversation is that journey. It's so much more interesting to hear the struggles, the growth, the development. And we kind of lose sight of that. We oftentimes people look at this destination of where you're at today, and they don't realize that once they get there, the most enjoyable and reminiscing piece of this was the journey to get there.
One thing I always hear people say is "must be nice."
Yeah,
I freaking hate that.
That is the worst saying ever. Must be nice.
Must be nice, Jason. I'm like, dude, seriously?
Yeah.
It's like walk a day in my shoes. Like, I earned this. What do you mean must be nice?
Yeah.
No, but it's funny you say that, because Punk Ass from Tap Out Clothing, when I was working at the first agency, I'd always drive over there to help do the deals and get the clothes and stuff. It was in San Bernardino. And he said, I'll never forget this. He might even remember he told me this. He said, Jason, getting to the top is the fun part.
Yeah.
Staying up here is the hard part.
Yeah.
And when he said that, it was so profound, because I think he knew I was kind of doing my own thing. He's like, you need to just enjoy this, man. Like,
for sure.
You need to really just enjoy the struggles, because hearing what you're saying about you're budgeting $2 a meal. Like, I remember thinking, like, man, I hope this hotel has free breakfast. I'm going to pound all the food.
This is my day's food right here.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the 1,800 calories right now and just kind of hold off. Or if a sponsor is giving free protein packets, cool, I'm packing all these. Like, I'm just gonna. We laugh about it now, and I don't think many people know this, but at the time, you're faking it till you make it. You really are.
For sure.
You're faking the front to, like, man, I just need to get till Sunday. I need to get to this, And
dude, when we got our first client, I remember I was in my 1-bedroom apartment with my 2 business partners sitting next to me at like our IKEA desks.
Yes,
like you look at this right now and you're like, we own this building. We own everything in here. And
that's impressive.
This was the 1-bedroom place where we have our $75, we call them the founder's desk, because we still kept those desks.
You have to. That is amazing.
Yeah,
yes, I'm glad you kept them.
Desk. So I get this phone call, and my client's like, this prospective client was like, do you guys do photography? And I think we did a small website thing for them, like $500. And they asked, do you guys do photography? I'm like, yes, let me transfer you to my photography division. and I have my iPhone and I put it on hold. I'm like, Justin, you're the photography division. He's like, we don't own a camera. I'm like, we'll figure that shit out later. Like, we'll get that stuff.
But see, that's the truth.
It is the truth.
So when we were back in the day when you were printing shorts, right?
Yeah.
I would iron the logos on with my mom's iron.
Like the iron on.
Yes.
Like.
And finally, my dad's like, that's enough. And he went into like his savings and he bought me a plotter and a presser and stuff. And I was printing the shorts. Like if you look at some of these fighters in UFC shorts, like I was printing those in my dad's spare bedroom.
Dude, I love that.
But I saved this iron because it has like the full tip Pogo logo kind of smeared on it. Like, you know, when you burn it on, it kind of has like, I've saved it. And my wife's like, why do we have this damn iron in the house? I'm like,
you don't understand.
Because I was in the spare bedroom on my hands and knees, like, you know, with a Teflon over it, making sure I don't burn the logo. I'm like, okay, got this. You know, like, please stick for the whole fight. Please don't come off. But you're like, oh yeah, I can print your shorts. I got a good printer. So the printer's me, just so you know. The printer's me too. I'm the printer. I'm your manager. I'm the guy making the marketing calls. I'll book your interview. I'm doing all of it from my parents' house. Don't worry, I got you.
Dude, that is amazing.
Yeah,
it's wild to think that is how it begins, and that is the stuff that is most fun to talk about. But in the moment, it's difficult. Like your friend is doing you such an amazing service in that reminding of like what this is.
He's the best. You know, one thing that hurts me, I will say this, is I brought my dad to a King of the Cage event in San Manuel Casino, and I had bought like this $300 cornerman's kit just to have as an extra, you know, extra tape, gauze in case you need to wrap hands and stuff, scissors, a whole nine. One of the fighters needed it. I brought it. It got stolen. They stole everything.
Oh man.
At the time, I maybe had $400 to my name. Yeah. I lost it in the parking lot. Lost it in front of my parents. I'm effing over this. I'm tired of this crap. Yeah. These damn guys stole my effing cornerman's kit. Like, my dad's like, dude, it's not that big of a deal, son. You're at casino with your parents watching a fight. Keep it in perspective. Yeah. And he brings it up sometimes. He does it as a joke, but it hurts me because I feel like, man, that was a moment that kind of bothered me. So I was dying to get them back out to a fight because I wanted to redeem myself. And so it was really cool. I brought him out March of 2019. I took him to see one of our clients, Cody Stamen, fight. And he walked out to John Dever, Country Road, Take Me Home. Yeah. And that's one of my parents' favorite songs. And it gives me so much joy because they were singing a song. He's walking out. So cool. He wins the fight. We go to dinner. And I was like, okay, this redeems myself from little San Manuel Casino meltdown. I was able to have this moment with my parents. And I just wanted to have a good experience with them because it was bothering me that, like you said, at the time, it was like life or death. Like, oh my gosh, like I just spent all this money to make this beautiful kit and someone just stole it.
It's hard, dude. It's hard to maintain perspective, and that's why a lot of our conversation has been around that. Does your faith help you in that, like to maintain perspective?
It does. It does because one thing I always write down. I have a journal, and I grade myself on 10 things every Sunday, and then I write the 10 areas, and then I write down my goals for those 10 areas. Yeah. And then every day I kind of write a little report on a one-pager, like what I thought, like what was my weight, how did I sleep, all these things. And one thing I always write is, God always provides. It always works out. Yeah. It always works out. Like, it always will. Yeah. It always has. I've never, here I am today talking to you. Like, this is amazing. This is a Thursday morning. I'm out here with you. How awesome is that?
Yeah. The fact that you could just take time.
Yes. Like, it always works out. So I always write, like, relax, smile. It always works out. Enjoy the moment. Like, it literally, like, and I really think, like, having that perspective of faith, like, man, you don't have cancer, you're not dying, you're fine. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, faith brings you that perspective, One time in 2015, I was really frustrated, and one of my clients at the time was like, hey, come to this, it was like a fundraiser, a cancer fundraiser it's a jiu-jitsu seminar. And I'm like, man, I don't know, it's Sunday, man, I'm just kind of in a funk. He's like, bro, just come. Dude, it was for a 6-year-old girl with brain cancer.
Oh, man.
She wasn't going to live another 6 months, I guess they were saying. And I'm like, this girl will never have a first kiss. Yeah. Never get to go to prom. Never get to do the things in life. And here I am for what? Yeah. And seeing her joy, and she was bouncing up and down, lively. I mean, she had such a great personality. I'm like, dude, I'm a dick. Like, I've lost sight of this. And I went home and prayed. I was like, God, I'm sorry. I'm losing sight of things here. Like, this is embarrassing. Like, this is.
It's very. It's very easy to lose perspective. I find that is probably the most beneficial piece of religion to me is, and it's really spirituality. But the most beneficial piece is that perspective.
It is. You're right. Seeing the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Is, sometimes you get so focused on the micro, like I got a flat tire or I got a ticket today or whatever, right? This happened, but it's like, dude, you live in America. You have beautiful friends. You have food on the table. You have a roof on your head. You're able to support your family. Like these are amazing things. And you're right. I think that's why I try to pray, every morning and really give thanks. I think if you give thanks, you cannot lose perspective, right? If you're giving thanks for things, you got to take time to give thanks for all the things. I think you can't lose perspective.
And that's the interesting thing to me about it is that, some people find that perspective or they need structure to gain that. So religion is very beneficial. Some people, spirituality is very beneficial. That'll be enough for them to keep perspective. Others kind of do it, just without any of it. Like jujitsu, I find is an incredible way of keeping perspective.
It is.
But I noticed that in the fighting community, religion is a big piece for almost every fighter.
Yes.
Every fighter is, and it makes sense to me the more I learn about the sport, the more that I see is this, there has to be a willingness to allow things that are out of your control to happen and to not stress about them.
Yeah.
And to me, that feels like such a critical piece for a fighter because there are so many things outside of your control. Sometimes you do go out and put down the performance of your career and it's still not enough to win. So being able to actually maintain perspective to say, okay, let's look at this from that outside perspective. Let's look at this from the standpoint that we're all a speck of dust flying around the sun at whatever ridiculous speed.
Yeah. One of my clients, I remember he was praying before the fight and everything he was doing was giving thanks. Man, thank you, God, for this opportunity.
Yeah.
It was amazing. I get to walk out to my favorite song in front of 20,000 people. I just pray you protect my opponent and protect me. And man, I'm just thankful.
How wild is that to hear?
It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
And I remember just thinking gosh, he has it right.
Yeah.
He's got it right. And he told me, Jason, the biggest worry in my life is I get to go get, trade punches with someone in a cage in front of a bunch of people. My life's good. I get paid to do what I love.
It's weird considering the perspective most people have on fighters.
Right.
Because...
And that was his perspective. And I remember just thinking man, what peace.
Yeah.
When Brandon Moreno fought for the title, he actually put me in the corner and I was honored. I was nervous,
That's
man.
so cool.
I went to the bathroom probably 4 times before the fight. I was so nervous. Okay. I was just...
I'm a nervous dumper too, man.
I was so nervous. I was and they were laughing. Like, you okay over there? I'm like, I'm fine. I got this. I was trying to posture up. I got this, Brandon. Don't worry about me. I'm good. And he was singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow the whole time backstage.
That's wild.
And we're fighting Figueiredo, who everyone's, made out to be this monster. He's knocking out people.
Figueiredo's gnarly.
Yeah. And he's just singing it. And I'm like, man, he's just so happy. Goes out there, puts what people thought was fight of the year, right? And
that was incredible.
It was an amazing fight.
Such an incredible fight.
And after the fight, I'm like, hey, Brandon, why were you singing that song? He goes, oh, man, I was watching 50 First Dates last night, and that was on, I just is in my head.
Yeah.
But that's how much in the moment and present he was, right?
Yeah.
He was just...
There are also some of the... I would argue that, I've been to a lot of different churches. I've seen a lot of different religions, and I've met a lot of different people. And I would argue that if you were to take a cross-section of 100 people, the nicest and kindest people are fighters. Like a cross-section of 100 people from any religion, any place, they're the people that honestly, but it's such a strange thing to me that martial arts and MMA has it's getting better, but it has
you're right,
bad rap.
It does.
Like people think that these are just people that want to go in and be violent and go in. And I'm like, man, these are the people that if you actually pushed and shoved them on a street, they would not react. In most cases, these are people that would turn the other cheek and they know their power, their strength, everything.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. And my family loves our clients. My wife, she adores them. And she always tells her friends, man, he's so sweet.
Salt of the earth, man.
And you should see him with his kids, or you should see her. She's so amazing. People are like, what, really? They're not, no, they get their aggression out in the gym. They're the most modest and almost meek at times people, right? They're just, if a bar fight broke out, they're just minding their own business, drinking their beer. They're not.
It's true. Erica posted she had like a Instagram story that she posted of Jiva, and he's just like sleeping, and it's like, I think she captioned it something like, he's so cute when he sleeps. And he did like look like really adorable. And I texted Erica, I'm like, nobody would know that this man would like murder you if you wanted to. But there's something about that process of, it's constantly humbling every single day. You constantly gain and regain perspective throughout the entire process. Yes. And when they do go against their opponents, most fighters don't want their opponent to walk away seriously injured. They just want to win the fight.
Exactly. I really I try to explain it to my wife once. I was like, she calls it karate. And I always laugh like, it's not karate. It's jiu-jitsu. The whole purpose of jiu-jitsu was to show that karate doesn't work. That was the whole premise of the UFC starting, is that jiu-jitsu is a superior art. It's jiu-jitsu. She's like, yeah, I watch your karate outfit. I'm like, no, it's jiu-jitsu. I was trying to explain to her, unless you do it, unless you go on the mats and train with your friends, you don't realize, it's almost like we're like kids in there.
For sure.
Right? We're just having fun. We're bonding. We're socializing. We're releasing our stress, right? All these endorphins. We're getting a good exercise, good workout. And there's Jiva with his profound words sometimes. And I'm just like, 13 years later, you say 6 words to me. I'm like, huh, you're right. I'm going to do that.
It's true.
You're just I just can never tell people how much jiu-jitsu has done for me. It's like the equalizer. It just brings everything back to... Have you seen that Instagram meme where the guy's all stressed out from work, he's got the tie on and everything, and then he goes and does jiu-jitsu and he's laughing. He's
life is so much better.
Unless you do it, I don't know how to really explain it, give it justice, but unless you do it, then you don't realize what a game changer it is for you in your life. And
it's true.
Look at the circles it's meeting you through jiu-jitsu, meeting Jiva through jiu-jitsu. My career is through jiu-jitsu. I wouldn't have a career if it wasn't for jiu-jitsu. That's the truth of the matter. How crazy it is that you walk into a gym one day not knowing your whole life's going to be changed.
It is wild. And from the outside, it sounds very cult-like, but from the inside, everybody at jiu-jitsu has tried everything else. We've done yoga. We've done, and it's not to say that those things don't have their place, but there's something different where you get every one of these aspects in one place. It's your social life. It's your, it's highly technical, so it puts the brain to use, and then it's physical. And
when you're on your phone like this all the time, all day long, you're not really connecting with people. Now, with jiu-jitsu, it's almost like you're forced to put the phone away, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you have to work with someone. You're drilling with someone. You're rolling with someone. You're communicating. I feel like that's lost upon us a little bit in society today.
100%.
And I'm guilty of it. I'm on the phone all the time working for our athletes. But man, to put that down for an hour or two, it's like a recharge, right? And 100%. Hang out with you, and hang out with Jiva, hang out with Gabe, and all these great guys, and Mo, and it's like, man, I love these guys. How lucky am I to have this fraternity of friendships that they care about you?
Yeah, it's an incredible thing, and I'm stoked because I actually get to start going back next week. So
nice, heck yeah.
Yeah, dude, the COVID's that was probably the most difficult thing, and I'm only, like I said, I've only been doing this for a couple of years, and it was the most difficult thing to take it away after a year and a half of doing it.
Yeah,
to be like, you can't go practice. My mental health declined almost immediately when that first
people don't
lockdown.
Believe that. My wife always laughs. If you don't train, you're you need to go. Go.
That's
I'll take care. You need to get out of here. You need to go do that, because when you come back, you'll be a much better person to me.
Exact same. Well, dude, I so appreciate you coming in today. This was an amazing conversation. So in the meantime, for our audience, definitely check out Iridium Sports Agency. If they know anybody that fights, I can't recommend you enough. Otherwise, watch the fight, because UFC 259, you guys have 4 fighters coming up.
Yes.
And in every single, you guys have Bellator, you guys have UFC.
We have guys in PFL, 1FC, Risen. We have them all over the world.
I'm going to have so much fun following all your fighters, man.
Awesome.
This is awesome.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here, brother.
Okay. Thank you.